Hey, it's Sunny here, and I am here to talk about uh, Dove's Real Beauty Experiment and interpersonal communication. Um, Dove's Real Beauty Experiment reflects self concept and self esteem, particularly in women. Um, I can remember, and this assignment is about like how self concept and self esteem affects interpersonal communication. So, going to examples of that, and before I get back to the actual experiment, I remember being in seventh grade in science class. I was kind of shy and interested in girls, but also intimidated, and I couldn't, let everybody know that. So this girl Becky was talking to me. A couple other girls were sitting there, listening to our conversation, engaged in the conversation, but not really, um, really adding much to it. Mostly it was me and Becky having a conversation. Uh, so I sit there and give her short answers, one word answers or minimal answers, trying to let on that I was just nervous even being in a conversation with several girls. I wouldn't, I wouldn't be able, and she was flirting with me, in a manner of speaking, and I was, I guess, aware of that, but I didn't know how to handle that. I was so like stuck in my head, um, talking about or thinking about like what I was presenting, and this gets into the idea of looking glass self of, you know, uh, what, how is the other person seeing you, or how are you imagining that the other person is seeing you? How are you being, you know, what is the reflection that you're seeing in the other person? Um, and uh, so that attention that I was paying to the inner turmoil that was going on in my head, if I had been able to pay that attention or spend that attention on the conversation itself and not be so caught up in what was going on inside, then the conversation might have gone another way, and that, who knows what might have happened, But another example, several years ago, my daughter had just moved back to East Wenatchee with me after she had been away for a couple years with her mom. Right? I don't know how long it had been, but a while anyway. Could have been less than a year for all I know. But she came home um, the first day from middle school, and she was in tears, and she had just been so nervous about what her all these old friends that she'd grown up with for several years, in grade school, what they thought about her, how she would fit in. She just couldn't take it. She yeah, she spent a few days here, and she retreated back to the safety of her mom's, and I suppose the relative anonymity of, being in a school that she was, not so close to, or around other kids that she could sort of just blend in. So I also want, going back to the experiment. I wonder, like, to what degree does the social the acceptability of poor self concept or versus a high self concept affect the way these women are thinking and communicating about their own appearance? Like, does does the fact that there's a cultural stigma against having, against being stuck up, or, you know, talking highly of yourself, or especially of your own appearance, does that play into how they talk about themselves, or or how genuine is their sort of negativity regarding their own appearance? How much does that reflect the truth of what they feel? And I acknowledge and believe that that women have a self-esteem deficit, that they are overly critical of themselves. See it in my own daughters, and they they're constantly worried about their appearance. But at the same time, you know, they are not even allowed to think highly of themselves, or speak highly of themselves, even if they do think so. But the disallowance, or if that's even a word, of saying it, kind of is almost like a taboo of saying it, or of thinking it as well. So, and then on the other hand, how do we talk about others? What is socially acceptable to say about others? So the picture of what the other people are saying about these women and their appearance is also distorted by these cultural norms around how we talk about other people, and how it would be rude to say, well, she has thick eyebrows, or she's got this or that part of her appearance that is perhaps not as wonderful as that they don't want to say. Say something nice, or don't say anything at all. But again, you know um, what is the truth? What is the truth about how women perceive themselves versus reality? And the truth is that this experiment points out that there's a deficit in women's self-esteem, and we need to be aware of that. They need to be aware of that. They need to like the lady in the video said, they have work to do about how they see themselves. And I'm